Hi, my name is Sandeep. Welcome to Knowledge Exchange, where I talk about technology, I talk about human psychology, and I love to talk about how human psychology impacts the technology work. Today, the topic of my discussion is microservices. I'm going to talk about what is microservice and why microservice. In the previous sessions, I have talked about what is API, what are the two type of APIs like network based APIs, library based APIs. Then I have talked about the web services. Then I have talked about how to design a beautiful REST API endpoints. And today I'm taking that discussion forward to start explaining what and why microservices are there. So let's get started. I would like to explain microservices through my experience or through my journey, what I've seen in last 14 years. Back in 2006, I used to build a big fat application which used to have presentation, business and data layer all encapsulated in a single application, and we used to deploy this application into the production for the end user. This is a journey which I saw it from 2006 till 2011 2012. In 2011 and 2012, there was a discussion to separate out the area of concerns, and it resulted in moving out the presentation layer and start building the presentation layer as independent component as compared to the backend layer, which finally had business layer and data layer. So we started focusing on two different teams. The front end team, whose focus was on building the presentation layer using a popular frameworks like Angular, and the back end team, whose responsibility was to design the business layer and the data layer using a popular frameworks like Spring Framework. Now, from that time, in the monolith space itself, in the backend side, things started moving from kind of monolith to the modular monolith. So, what is modular monolith? In modular monolith, we started segregating the responsibilities of various modules. Although it used to be a big fat single backend application, but each module has its own logics and files associated with it. For example, controller, your services, your data layer, and even sometimes the utilities or the helpers which are associated with that module, right? So we got started getting into the modular monolith sort of thing. Now, even in that particular case, we had certain concerns from the architecture perspective, from time to market perspective. Let me talk about that. The first one was time to market. Now, since we have a big fat backend application, if I have to make a change only in module A because of the business requirement, I still need to plan the deployment of entire backend application, and which was very expensive. Second, modularity. Although logically we were able to separate the modules within a backend application, but then when different developers work into that particular space, there was a collision of changes, and we were basically crossing the boundaries of another module. Third is polyglot solution. Sometimes you want to try two different technology in term of implementation and see how things go, and there can be many different reasons where you want to have a polyglot solution. Now, when you build a backend application as a single big fat application, you have to go with one particular framework. So that was another limitation. Scalability. Now, let's say that the user traffic is coming to module A, and module A has to be scaled. But now, since we have a big fat application, we have to plan scaling of the entire application rather than having a capability to scale one particular module. So all those were the challenges with the monolith, and with the APIs evolving in the market and primarily the REST over HTTP, microservices came in which changed the world. Microservice says that rather than building a single fat backend application, you start building microservices. Now, microservices, you can just say that it's mini functionality, you keep it in one particular service, but there has to be a well defined bounded context to say that okay, this is the service, this is the single responsibility of the service, and this responsibility has been driven based on certain well designed thought, right? And domain driven design has helped there to help you understand how to define a domain, how to define a subdomain, finding out the overlap between the subdomains, and then defining the bounded context for the APIs. Yes, so microservices in a simple layman term is it's a collection of it's a collection of services where each service has single responsibility. Now in the front end space as well, as microservices evolved for the backend layer, for the front end layer as well, micro front end came into the picture, which I'll talk about in the upcoming sessions. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.